Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Harp, and we're back again for another episode of the Schwag. And today we have Bryan joining us from SISU Extracts out in the Bay Area. And he's actually a good friend of mine. We grew up together down in South Jersey. And this should be a good conversation. Bryan, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? I think I told you before we started recording. I appreciate being able to connect with my homies from home, man. I'm a long way from there, so I follow what you're doing, and you making moves. So it's great to see so many people who we grew up with. Our little circle, our little crew has done a lot of great things, man. So I'm hoping that we can add to that. So this is
Yeah.
dope. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thanks for joining me, man. And like I said, I really appreciate it. And yeah, man, South Jersey, man, producing some great black men, man. Steel sharpening steel out there.
South Jersey, man.
Yeah, so you're living out in Cali these days, right?
Yeah, I'm out. I live in Humboldt County, California. We are the Wisconsin cheese of weed.
That's
So that's
tough.
where I'm at right now. Yeah, it's about 5 hours north of San Francisco. We're like the real Northern California for sure.
Okay, word. Yeah, I heard a lot about Humboldt, like in folk tales and different TV shows and stuff like that. So I heard it's
Yeah,
a really good economy out there for cannabis.
yeah, it is the economy out here for
Yeah.
sure.
So what type of work are you doing with at Sisu Extracts?
I'm currently the director of business development. So, my main mission right now is to build on current relationships, like revenue producing relationships, and then also to essentially squeeze out as much revenue as I can from our current relationships and add new ones as well. So, long story short, what that really means is that we're working with some pretty big brands, the largest brands in cannabis, and with it being such a new industry, a lot of them have products that they're known for at the moment, and then I'm helping guide them toward developing new SKUs, finding other streams of revenue, and then because of who we are as a company, we're the largest supply chain in California. So we have an opportunity to make sure that they have the raw materials to produce the products they need on a regular basis.
Man, that's really awesome. So you're really on the ground floor of like production and going right to market.
Yeah, yeah. We as a wholesaler, like we deal with raw materials. So like we deal directly with farmers. Actually, we're at like 500 plus farmers that we deal with as a company. We started with like 10, 20 in Humboldt, and then we've grown since I've been there for 2 years. We've grown exponentially since then. So yeah, our access to farms, like our founder Joe always says, we put a cotton gin in the middle of a cotton field. So that's where we are.
And that's what's
Yeah.
up. Yeah, so I would love to get more into a little bit of the business and uh, what you're currently working on. But I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit more about like your history and how you got into the game. So actually, what got you out into California?
College. I actually left. I did like a year at Tennessee, and then I transferred to a junior college in Sacramento. And during that time, I met my kid's mom, who happened to be from Humboldt, which I had never ever heard of. So when we had her, we moved back to Humboldt to be able to have help with my daughter because obviously I'm from South Jersey. All my family's in New Jersey, in the Philadelphia area, so it was a lot easier to get help with our baby. And then here I was, all of a sudden I'm in Humboldt County, complete culture shock, very rural. Usually when people talk about Northern California, they talk about Sacramento, San Francisco, the Bay Area, but we are the real Northern California. We're about 5 hours north, we're about an hour from Oregon. So when you get here, you immediately learn that that the cannabis industry is it's Wisconsin cheese. This is what the entire community is built on. It's the culture here, and it's not the culture that we think of where we grew up. These are families who have grown cannabis for generations. They take pride in it. They run legitimate businesses. Uh, it's complete culture shock. You meet really good people here, and this is their industry, and they believe cannabis is medicine. And you come here really fast, and you understand how not just cannabis, but living a healthier lifestyle is just what it is here. So I've learned a lot. Definitely different than it is growing up in growing up in the Philadelphia area. Like there isn't a lot of commercialized businesses here. It's very local, mom and pop. The steak you eat came from the cow that's from the farm, a couple miles away. So it's a different
Okay.
world.
So that sounds even more rural than South Jersey. A lot of people think that, we got cows and stuff.
Well, we do,
We got a little
we
farm
do.
stuff.
We do, but like our part of South Jersey isn't the South Jersey that people think of, which is typically when I'm in California. I have to tell people I'm from Philly because we definitely come from the more metropolitan part of
Right.
South Jersey. We're right by the bridge, but you start getting down toward, the Paulsboroughs of the world. You start getting toward you
Yeah.
know, the a lot more of the what was considered the Garden State. So, but
Right.
we're definitely more of the metro area.
So when you moved to California and then you moved to Humboldt, was the cannabis industry legalized at the time?
Not recreationally. It was medically legal. It's been medically legal for quite a while.
Gotcha. And when you when did you decide that it was the industry you wanted to work in?
I didn't, man. It was kind of a situation that was like a personal situation, honestly. Like I was prepared to move back to the Bay Area and work in the Bay for a sneaker company. And also I was working for a nonprofit that a friend of mine had started, and we had started to grow that. But my old investor in my original company um, is close friends with somebody who was one of the other founders of this company, whose family is like a staple in this community. And this opportunity came along for me to be the supply chain manager here. I had a ton of experience, obviously, in food, and a lot of industries are very parallel. And so it was like deciding between leaving and staying here and taking this opportunity. And for me, I've always been super interested in tech, but we were a little bit too young for the tech boom. So I was like, well, at the bare minimum, this is an opportunity to be on the ground floor of cannabis. I can't miss out on this opportunity. And then I had my interview, and I absolutely I loved my interview with the founders of the company at the time. There was like 15 of us at the time. I was like I think I might be like the 20th employee or something like that. It was really small, and I was just like, this is an opportunity. If it doesn't work out, I can always leave. If not, then cool. I'm on the ground floor of a startup company in an emerging industry. So that's how
Yeah.
I ended up getting it.
It sounded like you had a lot of foresight to know that this was going to be the next big thing.
Uh, I think it's common sense, right? I mean, my brain functions that way. Like I don't think that one of my biggest weaknesses is I don't live in the moment. Like I'm always like thinking ahead, like in every decision I make. So like I was like, hey, I can go do this now, and working where I would have worked at, it's a really cool job, a really cool opportunity. But this was an opportunity where I knew I had to grind, but like if it worked out, then I'm a pioneer, right? I work for a company of pioneers. So somebody like me can't pass up on that opportunity. Like we're as where we are as a company now, like that's a hell of a thing to pass up. So I was like, let's give it a shot, see where it goes.
That's what's up, man. So what
Yeah.
type of work were you doing before you got started in cannabis?
Couple things, man. When I first came to California, well, not when I first got there, but the first business I was into, I started a company called HumFresh, and I know you're familiar with that. We've talked about that in the past, but I was a school food company, and we used performance nutrition as a way to influence kids to make healthy dietary decisions through school lunch. Because my ultimate goal was that I knew that if I could impact kids at the school lunch level, I could impact every kid in America. And ultimately, I wanted to start a brand. And I thought this would be a great way to be able to get to start a brand, I would have so much momentum on the retail side. And then intrinsically, you would have to take my food for school lunch. And now I'm in front of every kid in America. And then I used my connections to professional athletes to where they would come to schools, they would talk to kids about nutrition, they would talk to kids about what they ate before games, and then we would like make that apply to school lunches. So like if this was on the menu, I would compare it to what, you know, one of my guys that played in the NBA or whatever was going to eat before his game to fuel. So it actually worked out really well. I ended up raising like $500,000 for a partner. And we were in 26 school districts within a year. And I was distributed by probably one of the largest food distributors in the country, Cisco. So it was a hell of an experience, man. Like school food, I never would have thought that, but you know where we
Hey,
came
man.
from, yeah, crazy, right? And it was just like something that just hit me, just because like every kid could be impacted by that, no matter what their socioeconomic background, race, gender, whatever. Everyone was impacted. So that was the first thing I did. I ran it for 6 years, and you know, we didn't make it, but it was a hell of an experience, man. You can't like pass up that kind of experience. And I learned so much. I took a lot of things. I developed a lot of great relationships from it. But also, I just want to throw the other side of it, because I know you're going to have a lot of entrepreneurs who are like watching this thing, but I want them to understand the other side of it. I lost a lot too. Like, you know, I lost myself in the process, you know, like my family, like my child and our, you know, my kid and our mom, we're not together anymore, but there was a lot of things that went into it that like stressed out the situation. Right. So, but long story short with that is that when you go after shit, you gotta be like, you have to be willing to fail. Right. And sometimes you actually are really going to fail, and there's still going to be things that come along with that. So I was never afraid of that. I didn't handle a lot of things right, but who does when they're 24, 25? Like, but the
Yeah.
learning experience I got from that probably led to me to where I am and where I'm headed next. So yeah, that was great. And then right after that, I dove into a project called Kicking It for a Cause, where I was the director of operations. I met a good friend of mine now that started it. He's the founder. His name's Coach CZ Strong. And he wanted to use sneakers as a way to bring people together, and then make changes to a lot of like social inequities. So we did that. We every year we do about 30,000 sneakers. We send them to Africa, and well, it goes to the Republic of Congo, and it's a way to keep young kids in Africa from getting sick, to get diseases in their feet, because they have no way to protect their feet. So we knew that it was super important to us. We met an amazing guy a few years ago named Emmanuel Tibaneri, who's from the Congo. He told us the story. We were like, yo, we have access to all these things, these sneaker companies. Let's bring it together and like, you know, let's impact some people. And then we worked on that. And then we also like raised money for scholarships, a number of things. We're still doing that. Chris is back in New York right now. We're like working on some big projects on that end. So that's what I did prior to this. I also spent time like with Body Armor when it first got started. Body Armor is obviously like one of the biggest sports drinks that are out there. So I was kind of part of that when it started. And yeah, I've kind of done a lot, man. Like I've been around a bit, and then that's why I think that this opportunity that I got with this was such an easy transfer, because I've had all these skills that I built up from these startups essentially, and now we're here. So
Yeah, so you're a serial entrepreneur, man. And like I said, you definitely have that insight, and like you said, all that experience that you got building those brands successfully helped you do that transition to
yeah,
cannabis.
I think the failures actually helped me more than anything else. I think like understanding and learning from them, and then being able to apply them. And now like I'm on a team now that just we have a bunch of just, for lack of a better term, like killers on our team. Like everybody here just wants to be the best at what we do. Everybody works hard. There's a culture here that I've never really been a part of. So, and you just see it. People who care about each other. We care about the work we do. So it's a different experience. And now it's just like, I mean, that's why that's why we're, you know, where we are and where we're headed at this point.
That's what's up. Whenever you could be around a good culture to help bring out the best in you and values you, I always feel like that makes the experience that much better.
Yeah, Yeah, it is, man. Every day is it's just a we I wouldn't say we fight, but we challenge each other, and it's great. It reminds me of basketball, right? Like when you're on a good team, like sometimes you're in the huddle and you guys are yelling at each other and like you're helping, like but you're making each other better. It's all constructive. It just reminds me of basketball so much. Like I try to live in parallels. Like if you can find a parallel in your life, it makes life really easy. And like I always try to think about basketball, like everything from all the elements of teams and how hard you work and the practice you put into things. Like this is what it reminds me of. So it's super. It's a great experience that I have right now.
That's cool. And I like the way you can self-evaluate. Like I try to tell the young people around me, um, it's all about realizing your transferable skills. Like you said,
Yeah,
if you play a sport, you have those skills, being able to think under pressure, being dedicated and having a
yeah,
consistency in your life where you're working out and going to practice. All of that will help you in your work life and being able to tell a prospective employer or prospective business partner about the skills that you had and how you can apply them to your current situation is definitely helpful.
yeah. It's huge, man. I think it's actually how I developed like a lot of my closest friendships because I always say it's like you ever meet someone who's from the military, right? A lot of the closest friends are like military friends because you get to know these people under pressure. You can't fake who you are under pressure. You can't fake who you like. You know who somebody is through competition. Like you know who the guy that is a hard worker off the court. You know the guy who's like who doesn't work hard and
Right.
wants to just skirt by. Like and essentially that's how you develop your relationships. Like you get to know people. So it's like you said, transferable skills, transferable personality traits. If you can just live in these parallels, you can it helps you make better decisions across the board. That's what I think personally. So
That's what's up. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about SISU Extracts and what you guys do. I know you said that you guys are wholesalers, so that's you get products from the farmers and then you sell them yourself.
yeah, I think I can break it down further since cannabis is a relatively new industry. So up in Humboldt, we come from a community of cannabis growers, and for decades upon decades, when farmers grow cannabis, at the end of the run, when they have a finished product, somebody comes up and buys it. Um, but it's a super inefficient process if you really think about it, right? Like if you're a farmer from 100 miles up the mountain, like you're not going to know. You're going to know maybe one or two people through the grapevine, but I mean, really being able to like maximize your profitability as a farmer, essentially as a company, you need access to more, right? You need access not only to that, but like there's a lot of ancillary products that come from cannabis, just like any other commodity plant. You've got everything from the actual whole flower, but then you also have like cannabis trim, which is all of the excess material that's trimmed off of the plant, off of cannabis when you're going through the harvest process, right? So that trim contains THC, which is can create other cannabis products and whatnot. So not a long time ago, 3 or 4 years ago, people were literally trimming flower and throwing away their trim. And trim is like sugar leaf that has like the crystals on it. It's small buds. Like most people just want their tops, which obviously is obviously like the thing that people know most about cannabis. But if it contains THC, then you can make THC products. Because at the end of the day, once you understand cannabis, you're paying for percentage points of THC. You're paying for what gets you high, right?
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't say this gets you high recreationally, but also medicinally, like the terpenes, the THC, the CBD, you name it, they all have these different benefits that impact us medically and recreationally. So for a while there, people just throwing those things away.
That's bold, baby.
So
What you doing with that?
yeah. I mean, these are people who've been in the industry for a long time, but like extraction, like our company's main focus have been extraction. And essentially, through extraction, it's like anything else, right? Like you're concentrating THC. So you're squeezing every last bit of THC out of the cannabis plant, which is all valuable for multiple reasons, not only just recreationally, medicinally, but monetarily too. So long story short, we started off as a company that came and pick up your trim, and being in the cannabis industry or any industry that's traditionally illicit, uh, people want consignment. And most people don't. Most people who have this stuff aren't putting stuff on consignment. They don't. There's no trust in this industry, right? Lucky for us that we came from this area, and people and trim was essentially trash for a while. We started promising people that if you provide us with your trim, we will give you 60% of the profit off the oil that we make, which is sort of unheard of. A
Great
lot of people
deal.
try 50-50, whatever. But then the key was like, can you produce the product, and then will you pay me? Well, lucky for us, we had our founding group made sure that we produced and paid. So we did a 60-40 split. It paid it paid farmers more than market value because we were giving a 60-40 split versus offering cash for
Undercutter's
trim.
Pizza.
Huh?
I said Tom Green used to have this skit called Undercutter's Pizza, where he
There
would
you
look
go.
for pizza men delivering pizza and then run up to the door with the pizza and say,
Yep.
he'd wait to hear the price and he'd be like, oh no, $5.
Yep. There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's what's
So
up.
it's like somebody comes up to a farm and offers them, $50 a pound for trims, and I'm like, hey, if you let me turn this into oil, I can get you 65. Um, Everyone says that, but can you actually do it? And we actually delivered on that. So our company was built on that. We started off doing a 60-40 split. People in Humboldt were happy. We were getting trim on consignment, making oil, and when we first started, we were providing oil to one customer, which, as anybody knows, providing anything to one customer is not the way to do a business. So literally, when I got to SISU, we had that one customer, and 3 weeks later, that customer started sourcing from somewhere else. We were like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?"
Right.
So,
That's a problem.
so we all, yeah. So with this industry being relatively immature and not super developed, it wasn't really easy to find somebody who wanted to pay $9,000 for a liter of cannabis oil. But we all went on the hunt, went and found those customers, and then all of a sudden, long story short, we ended up getting a bunch of clients who could buy that oil at that price. We ended up getting more farms and more farms, and then once we started developing our efficiency, our efficiency increased exponentially as an extractor, and then we ended up going from a 60-40 split to a 70-30 split. So now 70% of the profit from the sale of oil went back to the farmer, and we kept 30, and then we exploded. So we ended up getting a ton of new farms. And then on the buyer end of it, we ended up finding, obviously, these brands were starting to build like vape carts. But obviously, what we do on the oil side goes to the vapes. So we were selling bulk oil to vapor cart brands. And then once we got that, we've rolled ever since then. Now we've gone from that to being the largest wholesale supplier in cannabis. So it's quite the story. It happened fast.
That's
but
amazing, bro.
that's where we are. Yeah,
That's a great
it's really, really
story.
cool story, man. Yeah, absolutely.
So when you went from the one buyer to sourcing the multiple buyers, was that over time and the growing demand for more oils?
Yes and no. It was, of course, like more. It's cannabis, so the industry's immature. So there's going to be a ton of companies getting into it that want to start vape brands. People love vape carts because of the convenience, but then also just a matter of it's not traditional industry where you can just go find these vape brands. Like, if I sold computer parts, there's a million tech companies out there. So you can go out there, but it wasn't easy to find cannabis brands or viable cannabis brands.
Right.
So we had to get really creative, and our guys had to get on the phones and just call literally every cannabis license in the state and find out if they wanted oil and if it was the right price, if they needed oil. There was a lot to it initially. It was a grind in the beginning to be able to get it to go, and then once we made a main name to ourselves, once as a supplier, once you make a name for yourself and people know that you're trusted, your product's going to be compliant and it's going to be priced right, then people start banging your door down. So once we cross that threshold, we've grown exponentially since then. So
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the process of trying to like get oil out of cannabis plants?
Yeah. I won't say
As
it's
much as
simple,
you
but it's
can tell
simple.
us.
Yeah, yeah. I won't say it's simple, but it is simple. I mean, it's extraction, right? It's like it's extracting coffee beans to make coffee, right? Or any other process. Our company does cryoethanol extracting, which means that like ethanol is a solvent. So a solvent is able to pull out all of the cannabinoids, terpenes, whatever it can extract. Solvent at a certain temperature, it at certain temperatures it extracts different cannabis compounds. And obviously, what we're aiming for is THC because that's the THC and CBD. But mostly for us, we're THC based. So we're trying to extract as much THC from the cannabis plant as possible. It gets extracted into crude, much like gasoline, right? Crude oil from cannabis. Hemp. That's why you can use hemp for hemp oil for gasoline, technically, right? It's all the same thing.
Okay.
But we extract from the cannabis plant through cryoethanol extraction, which means the
So when you
cryoethanol we
say,
extract with cold.
gotcha. So when you say crude, you mean it's kind of got like a bunch of like stuff that you don't want in it.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yes, because crude oil, yeah, it's crude oil at its base base level, yes, absolutely. Because at the crude level, we extract into what we need. So once you have BHO or ethanol crude, you can then extract from there to be able to pull out the elements that you need for whatever cannabis product you're making. For us, it's distillate. Distillate is what goes in the vape carts. So yeah, exactly. You can extract crude oil through multiple different things. You can extract CBD. You can extract terpenes, like whatever. You can, it's the base product of the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're saying that you guys only use extract the I guess the oil that's used in recreational vapes. Do you guys make any other products?
Well, oil is the base product for a lot of cannabis products. So, like edibles, they're usually infused with cannabis oil. Sometimes there's pre rolls that are infused with cannabis oil. There's a multiple products. So, like distillate is essentially a base product for a lot of cannabis products. Um, but it's mainly known because you can see it in a vape cart. That's the oil that goes in the vape cart, and because we use cryoethanol to extract, essentially it removes all other compounds and then just to add back compounds such as terpenes. So like the terpenes obviously what adds the flavor. They also have a lot of like psychoactive effects and whatnot. But that's essentially how that works. So in a vape cart, someone is adding distillate and then they're adding back the terpene profile to make it taste like banana or strawberry or whatever that may be, or
Okay.
OG. Well, banana and strawberry typically botanical terpenes, which come from like plant sources, and then they replace it back with these like sort of artificial flavors. If you get a vape card that's like an OG, well, it can be either someone's either created a terpene compound that mimics cannabis, or they've actually extracted um, an OG plant and then put those cannabis terpenes back into the vape card to make your OG vape card.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
So you can get all different types of combinations.
you can get whatever you want. It's like artificial flavoring in food. It's all the same. It's all the
Okay.
same thing. Yeah.
So does it matter what plant you use for the extraction process?
For us, no, because we use ethanol, and ethanol strips the compound down to its base level.
Okay.
There's other compounds that you can keep the integrity of the plant better, like a butane extraction or like a carbon dioxide extraction. But yeah, mostly it's I'm sorry, not carbon dioxide, hydrocarbon, like a hydrocarbon extraction. But yeah, with ethanol, you have to add back the compounds.
Got you. Man, you really know the science of this thing.
I mean, I'm definitely not an expert, but I mean, when I first got into this, I ran supply chain really because I wanted to understand like cannabis. I didn't know it. I only knew what came in a dime bag. So I really wanted to get to know it. So like when you're running supply chain, I see all the inbound material, and then I had to understand. I would go sit in the lab with all the extractors and learn it. I really wanted to know it before I could sell it.
That's cool. So you did your homework, learned the business, learned about the process and the science behind what you guys were doing. And I feel like you were able to convey that to me really easily. I understood it. But if anybody has some questions, make sure you guys put them in the comments below, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
get Bryan to answer them later.
yeah, for sure.
So you said that you worked in business development. Can you tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day is like and what you're doing for SISU?
Well, if you work for a startup, you know that whatever your title is, it doesn't really mean anything. You wear all the hats, right?
Yeah.
Uh, um, but essentially now we've grown to the point we have over 100 employees. So like now I'm more hyper focused on growing business relationships with other brands, distributors. And then once I get that relationship, it's my job to understand all the needs of each individual entity and then extract as much revenue as possible. So I'm doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So I get to know the people who run the company. I get to know what the direction is, and when you're in an immature industry, a lot of people don't know what they want, right? A lot of people launch a cannabis company because they want to sell weed. But it's my job to be able to say that you're like to be able to find out what, I go into dispensaries, I know what the hottest selling products are, and I let people know that like our company can produce X at this level. And I think what makes us super unique right now in this industry is that a lot of people, when they launch a brand or they work with someone else, they have to go source products. So like I can have someone private label my vape cards, but my private labeler may not have access all the time to distillate, which is a huge problem, right? Like if my private labeler doesn't have the base element of a product, then how are we gonna put it on the shelf?
Could you tell us what
So
a private labeler is?
we simple. We are somebody. If you have a brand, we have Chris Harper's brand, and he says, "Hey, I want to launch a brand called Chris Harper, and I want you to I want you to put my name on it, and I'm going to sell it." So we're essentially that. You're like, "Hey, I want to start a flower brand. You give me all your packaging. You provide me with whatever else you need. If you need like the actual hardware, the cartridges, we fill it, we package it, we send it off for compliance testing, and we put it on the shelf." So is where we are similar to we like Kirkland vodka, right? Kirkland vodka has also made it Grey Goose. Kirkland vodka also makes Grey Goose. They make other products. So yeah, we slap your label on any product that you want to make, and you sell it.
Okay. Man, they're doing that with weed too. That's interesting.
You do it in every industry.
Yeah.
Every industry, yeah. You name it, from every brand. Uh, the large majority of brands you see on any shelf, not just cannabis, are not made by that company. There's something that was outsourced, right? And then at that point, they might outsource individual elements of their product, and they give it to somebody to be able to manufacture and put their label on, and they charge a fee, right?
Okay.
Because if I'm a brand, your brand, you started a brand because you believe in your brand and you know how to market it. It doesn't necessarily mean you know how to source distillate or find the right flower for your brand. You know what you want. You pay someone else to make sure you get what you want. You pay me to make sure you get exactly what you want.
Right. So if I just got a bunch of money, I could just be like, could I be
Yeah.
like, hey, Bryan, I want to start a brand, and you're like, all right, cool, and then you just walk me through
Yep.
the process?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. If you are capitalized enough to be able to withstand whatever, maybe your product doesn't sell for. I don't want to take on a project that's going to be a one-off project because it's really expensive to get a brand off the ground. Like, to be able to get the packaging, the cartridges, the distribution fees, the input material. It's expensive, and then it's also expensive for my company to do that. Like, it costs me employees, it costs us time, it costs us, there's a lot of opportunity costs that's built into that. So I vet really hard the companies that we bring in. they can actually not only afford it, but they're actually a viable company. So really important.
So you definitely doing quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mean you can hand me $1 million, but if you're not a viable customer, if you're somebody who's going to disappear, like that, everybody here who's listening to this should be make sure they're aware of opportunity cost. The opportunity cost there's financial value and there's time value, and there's no more valuable element in our lives than time. So it's super, super important for all of us.
Yeah, so when you can't just pick anybody. You're looking to build long-term relationships
Yeah.
that are win-win
Yep.
and last a
Exactly.
long time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. So you kind of gotta always know what's going on in the industry.
Yeah. Gotta have my ear to the streets, just like everything else, man. Parallels. Ear to the streets. Gotta know.
I got you. So where do you see the industry growing in California, and what do you think about the current situation in like Pennsylvania and New Jersey?
Well, I mean, when it went legal in California, what made it really important that we're the fifth largest economy in the world, right? So like everything is going to be built out in this industry is going to be run through California. So we are headed toward commercialization and commoditization of this industry. There's no doubt about it. At the end of the day, cannabis is a plant, and the years ago, I mean, not years ago, relatively recently, the margins that you made on growing cannabis flower were exponential, right? But as it moves into commercialization and commoditization, that's not real. There's not many corn farmers that are multimillionaires, right? Most corn farmers are making good living. You know, if I own a corn farm, I might make 70, 80 grand a year, right? If I
Yeah.
work at a corn farm, I make a minimum wage. That's the reality, and that's where we're headed. We're headed toward commoditization and commercialization because once uh, the fact that like now I think I told you before this that 1 in 4 houses in Humboldt County has an indoor grow. What that means is it's not really difficult to grow cannabis, and the more licenses that are given out, the more big companies that come in and improve efficiencies. Um, they're able to, like I said, they improve efficiencies. They grow more product. Economies of scale comes to play, and then all of a sudden now you've got like an industry just like cannabis becomes corn. You know,
Right now
a
the
little more
U.S.
valuable.
government subsidizes corn. So
There you go, right? You think the U.S. government's not going to subsidize this? Like you got to think about. There's a lot of things that come into play. Like, so that's where industry's headed, man. It's going to be commercialized and it's going to be run by like the big companies, big tobacco, uh, alcohol, private equity, Silicon Valley. Where all the money, like that's where the money's coming from. Um, so that's where we're headed, and it's for better or for worse. And like as somebody, and I wouldn't feel this way if I didn't spend the last 10 years in Humboldt, but like it's kind of sad because like this community was built on that. I know a lot of people who built their lives on it, and the sad part about it is like very similar to like growing up like in a like in poverty or in an area that doesn't have the education or the examples around you to be able to do things like the right way. People who grew up who are here, like we have growers who, you know, they make a lot of money. And then we have to adjust your margins because it becomes legal and it commoditizes. It's difficult to go from a 500% margin to a 50% margin. Most businesses, you work on a 50% margin, you're doing pretty damn good.
well, damn great.
Um, yeah, but that's a difficult downgrade because you don't even because if your margins are that high, you don't even know where your costs are coming from, right?
Yeah.
You don't understand how much it really costs to grow a plant. You don't know how much it costs this guy who spends half his time trimming and half his time eating and flirting with the girl next to him. Like that's opportunity costs, right? In a sense, like like there's costs that are built into that. There's efficiencies that aren't built in, and because the companies that are coming in are built that way, and then we got a lot of farmers who come from the traditional world. It's very difficult to It's very difficult to match efficiency. Like efficiency is one of those things that's just we talk about it a lot, but it's not easy. So we're headed toward commercialization. We're headed to dispensary off. There's like I think there's 600 dispensaries in California, I mean, coming up is going to be dispensaries going to be like Safeway and ShopRite if you're from Jersey, and Vons if you're from California, and 7-Eleven and Wawa. It's going to be chain dispensaries, which means at that point now you're really talking about you have to have products that can put on the shelf that are able to make a profit for the dispensary, and then it's going to be make a major impact on small farmers. So one of my big tasks at SISU is that I'm just trying to find ways to be able to take the people from this county with me on this ride as SISU continues to grow, to be able to give credit to the farmers as we go, putting their name on packaging, educating them on where the industry's going, like things like that, man. It's like a really personal thing once you live here, and like my kid's on play dates with one of our farmers' kids. Like, my close friends up here are farmers. We have these crazy fires going on up here, and like they're burning down farms, which people just see like weed burning, but I'm watching people's lives burn away. So
Yeah.
it's a crazy thing, man. We didn't grow up dealing with wildfires. Like, this is
Right.
wild. This is crazy what I'm seeing right
Are,
now, man. So
are they settling down at all?
yeah, yes and no. I don't even know how to describe a wildfire, man. It's intense. I mean, because every property it hits, everything disintegrates. And the crazy part about it is this is harvest season right now. So this is the time where people's like full term product, the stuff that they've been growing for the longest period of time, the largest money making harvest of the year, where a lot of people, like, this is how they pay for the entire year for their family. That shit's burned down.
Mm.
Or if it's not burning down, there's ash or smoke and it's degrading the product. So it's like you're just watching like these things happen, and who benefits from this is like big business, because when they're growing weed, most of them are not doing the open field. They're doing it like they're able to afford these multi-million-dollar controlled environment, places to grow cannabis, and then that's what goes on the shelf, and then the little guy goes away. So it's just it's an interesting. It's tough. It's tough to watch, man, for sure.
Mm. Are they empowering farmers anyway in California to, like, I guess, deal with the bigger companies coming in?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough to it's tough to say. It's just when there's too much money that's moved into this industry, right? Like, it's like anything else. Like, they don't. It's like, think about gentrification. Like, when gentrification happens and big money moves into a impoverished area, they don't care really what happens to the people that live in the area, right? Like, last time I was in Camden, I saw the waterfront. I couldn't believe what I saw. I'm in Oakland. I'm looking at Oakland. Oakland looks nothing like it did when I first moved to California. But no one cares about where the people go. They just like, this is where the money's at. And I guess it's a good parallel to this. It's like the industry's headed toward like this super lucrative industry where you're going to see a lot of public cannabis companies, and that traded on, and on the S&P and the Nasdaq once it goes federally legal, and the people who built this industry aren't going to matter to those people. They don't. It's just crazy to watch that and to be a part of it. It's just, I like to think that our company can do a lot to help, but we're going to do the best we can for sure. Like, but it's just, it's rough. It's rough to watch.
Yeah. So what's the future for Sisu in the next couple of years or next couple of months?
Our goal as a company is that we want to be the premier private labeler in cannabis, like, bar none. We built our company the right way. We didn't raise a bunch of money and put a bunch of machines in a facility that we didn't use. Like, every single part of the building that we're in, every single machine, every single person is worked and maximized. So we have a built-in advantage because we focused on doing one thing really well, and that was turning trim into market viable oil and paying farmers more above market value. And that ethos keeps our company running, but it also helps keep this industry that's super important to us, keeps it functioning. Like, we were able to pay farmers and keep them in business and continue to grow and then bring that community with us. So it's like the hope is that we can continue to be an outlet for farmers to be able to continue to feed their families, and we can feed our family, and we can grow uh, the economy and the community that we're in. It's a really cool experience, like to be able to say that we're successful in this small community, and we're a part of this community. We get to bring it with us.
Yeah.
So it sounds super ambitious, but like we're not where we are without the people who they put us on their backs, right? So we owe them. Like we owe this community. I live in this community. I'm not from here, but obviously like this place means a lot to me. So, and the people here mean a lot to me. So I'm hoping that we continue to grow and we continue to, you know, to make not just make people proud, but like actually be of benefit to keep food on tables, right? Like that's the hope.
That's what's up. So
Yeah.
is the industry in California diverse?
No.
Nah.
No.
I know you
There's
said
not
you're
a
in
lot.
NorCal, you're by the bay, so I figured I'd ask, you know?
Yeah, there's not a lot of me out there. There's not a, I mean, and I think it's not because it's not because, well, I guess if you think about it in a way, yes, probably like people of color and women and whatever they've been kept out, but not kept out like in a way where like it's been like this. It's culture based, right? Like like we talked about, where we grew up at, we've got friends and family that are in prison for this. And then
Yeah.
here, this community was built on this. And I remember the first time a cop told me that unless somebody had more than 50 grand and 100 pounds on them, the cop was like, yo, I'm not even gonna write this ticket. And I'm
Man,
just
I know
like,
people who got put in jail for a gram.
for a grand.
Yeah.
So
That's wild.
it really is. It's culture shock. So I won't say. And then obviously, like the community is built on farmers, and the majority of farmers are men or white men. So this is a very accepting community. They're not going. They're just by nature. There's just not going to be a lot of black people that move to Humboldt. Like this just doesn't
Right.
happen. Also, our families and our communities aren't built here to where we have a family foundation built here to we grew cannabis and that was it, right? So it's not that way. And then the industry as a whole, it's not an industry that we know about except for where we grew up at. It came in a bag. So it's not the same. So I won't say it's not. It doesn't feel like an industry that keeps people out. It just feels like it's inherently not inclusive, but not it's not on purpose. Like
Right.
I get treated great across the board. People are very respectful. You see this Black Lives Matter on my shirt. My company made this shirt. I didn't ask them to do this. Um,
That's love, man.
Cannabis tends to be a very liberal, accepting community. Like this, it's really cool to see. It's accepting of all races, of all
Weed brings people
genders.
together, man. Everybody joins the
Yeah,
circle.
yeah, it really is, and you know what it is though, is because like because of what cannabis is, right? Cannabis is a substance that its nature is to bring people together. It reduces anxiety. It makes you feel better. Those things are like really, really important. So by nature, it's almost like it's this accepting thing, this accepting culture that we have. And it's like, how many people do you smoke with that you can, like, it's one of those things that if I've got a joint, I can have 6 different people from 6 different backgrounds. We may not agree at all, but we'll share this joint and we talk to each other and we get to know each other. And we're like, damn, we're not that different.
Right.
So, although there's not a ton of me in the industry yet, I think the culture of this industry is very inclusive, 100%.
Well, that's good to hear. Are there like a lot of job fairs or any type of outreach to try to get uh, more people to just get into the industry?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of events. There are a lot of cannabis based recruiting companies. Um, and even like the companies that I know of that have recruiting departments, they are looking to be inclusive. Like they're looking for women. SISU is run by our executive team is 2 women, and then the layer right under that is another 3 or 4 women. So our company is actually on the higher, like the high level employees. It's actually majority women in our company, which is really it's like
How many
it's
employees
cool.
do you have, just to give people a perspective?
I think we're over 100, somewhere over 100.
But those women you named were in the executive level.
Yeah, there's our founder is a woman named Shannon Byers. She's incredible. Like she literally built out her entire manufacturing department. She's building out our processing department. Like she's an animal. Like she's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. You would have no idea she has built this thing. And then we've got Sharon, who's one of our as our CEO's ex-colleague at another tech company in the Bay, who learned cannabis, who knew nothing about cannabis. He's actually from Jersey originally, so we hit it off.
Shout out to
But
Jersey.
yeah. So she knew nothing about cannabis and pretty much learned the entire industry in 2-3 months. It was like crazy to see. And then we've got our supply chain manager. We've got one of our ops manager on the white living department, our HR manager. Uh, Hopefully, I'm not missing anybody else, but
All
like,
good,
there's a
but
lot of
yeah,
women.
I get it. We get it. It's all good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm currently the only black guy at the company, but we also have like we've got Mexican guys at the company. We've got Middle Eastern. We're as diverse as Humboldt County can be. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Humboldt County is not a diverse area, but we're as diverse as as it can be. We have a very inclusive, very accepting company. It's really cool to be a part of.
right. So I don't know if you might have felt any type of like trepidation about getting into cannabis because of the stigma, but I'm glad people can see people like you and know that, yo, like there's nothing to be nervous about. If it's legal in your
Yeah,
state, get involved, you know,
be
reach
a
out to any
pioneer.
companies that are hiring. Yeah,
Yeah, be a pioneer. Take a chance. I mean, it's a really good industry to be a part of. As I said, I'll say it again. Like it's an accepting culture. I will say I will caution to make sure you find a cannabis company because as with any startup industry, there's going to be a lot of poorly run companies that are going to, that may be a waste of your time or may put you in a tough position. But like if you just do your research and and try to find a company that when you go in there, you embrace the culture, they embrace you. You can tell like they're like our founders are the hardest working people that I've ever been around. Like they bust their ass. So it's kind of hard for you not to do that. And when you see our company be successful, once you get to know the people who run this company on a daily basis, it's clear why we are in the position we're in. So I'd say, yeah, like seek out industry. It's a great opportunity for you to uh, speed up the process of upward mobility in your career because I think I skipped a lot of steps being here. We're in a traditional industry. I don't think I get the opportunity that I'm in now where I'm making major financial decisions. I'm dealing with CEOs. I'm dealing with uh, people like, venture capitalists. I'm in really great, and I'm a decision maker. And I don't think I get that as easy and as fast anywhere else. So it's really going to give me a chance to be like to really like use the talent that I think that I have and maximize it. So it's a really good opportunity if you do it the right way.
that's great. Well, thanks for that advice, Bryan. Where can we find you online, man?
Um, I'm not a super online person, but of course I have Instagram. Our company is actually SISU underscore extracts on Instagram, SISUextracts.com. I'm Bryan Island on Instagram, Bryan Island ILAND on Instagram, and I think that's about it. I don't
You on
really.
LinkedIn? In case anybody wants
I'm
to
on
reach out.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hit me on the LinkedIn. Yeah.
Gotta use that
Bryan.
LinkedIn these days.
Yeah, hit me on the LinkedIn, man. Just Bryan Smothers. You'll find me.
That's what's
Bryan with a Y and then SMOTHERS.
Well, thank you,
SISU
Brian.
Extracts. You'll see me on there.
That's great, yo. You got a really interesting story, and I'm glad you shared it with us today. What do you like to do with your free time when you're not, working hard developing Sisu?
Um, Being with my daughter, man. Like I split. I'm here. I live in Humboldt halftime, and the other halftime in LA. So literally, I come up to Humboldt for a week, get my weekend with my daughter, and I hop on the next flight to LA. So all of my free time pretty much is like just trying to be a dad. I'm raising a 9-year-old girl. And
Yeah,
that's the
like,
most important thing to me. You go on my Instagram, it's the first thing you see on my Instagram is it's all her. So
yeah, that's
she's the
what's
most
up, man.
important thing. I'm hoping I can be a good example for her.
I like to keep great dads in my circle, man.
Yeah, it's important, right?
Yeah,
It's really important, man. Like I think
definitely
I
key. I
also want
admire
to go
what you've
out.
done with your young lady, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I also want to make sure it's another known thing as we continue to talk about like black men. I try to remove the ideology of like congratulating good dads, right? Because I
Yeah,
think that like this is what we're supposed to be. Like we're supposed to raise our kids, like we need to like start turning things into expectations versus like, you know, I'm glad I like that people like it's great that people say like recognize that, but I think it's like, well, if I wasn't doing that, then what the hell am I? Right?
exactly.
Like
But
just
you gotta put that out there in the media, man. We need as many positive images as possible
yeah, absolutely.
to
Absolutely,
fill out the
man.
bad stuff that gets highlighted.
Yep. Yep. There you go. Yep. That's it.
Well, thanks a lot, Brian. I really appreciate you joining us today, man. Anything else you want to say before you get out of here?
No, that's it, man. Again, I don't have a lot of time in my day these days, and if I do, I want to spend it with my daughter. But I'm like being able just to connect with you, coming from where we come from, like we talked about. Like I ran into you at the Jordan party randomly,
That
and
was
we take a
crazy,
step.
man.
It's
The
always important that we
2016
all,
All-Star Weekend.
yeah,
We in New
right.
Orleans, Mardi Gras,
Mhm.
All-Star Weekend.
Yep,
I
yep.
get to the Jordan party, and who do I see? Man, Brian, that was awesome right there. That shit
Yeah,
was.
man. Yeah, it's
I
important
ran
we take a
into you a
step
couple
back,
times
man.
that weekend. You were recording for Kicking It, right?
Yeah, we're recording that weekend, man. We did a lot of stuff. We did some stuff with Steph and Kyrie, and yeah, it was cool, man. It was real cool. We actually I think Kyrie had done like one of his All Star sneaker launches, and we did that weekend. Um, but again, it's just important that we always we as we continue to move forward in our lives, like to take a step back and appreciate like where we are and where we're headed. And you're kind of like how I don't like brag about nothing like that, but sometimes you do need to take a step back and appreciate where you are and what you've accomplished,
Right.
and to keep pushing. So
That's what's up. Yeah,
yeah,
man. I was down there for work too. I went for D Wade Spades party. That was
yeah,
where
I was
we at,
supposed to go
man.
to that.
Yo, that was crazy. I didn't know like
Yeah.
D Wade was that good at spades. Yeah.
If
But,
I'll mop Wade, I'll mop him at spades, bro.
yeah.
Nobody wants the most competitive thing. It's the most competitive game in the world. Like,
Listen, I try to tell people, man, you gotta learn how to play spades. It's just like hearts,
yep.
but blacker.
You gotta learn how to play spades. Yep.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to play spades, man. It's a rite of passage.
Yep. Yeah, man. That Jordan party was pretty sick, man. They had the free cigars and drinks was flowing all night.
I
The
had
bars was out
this was
that night.
last year. Last year was the first year in like 3 years I hadn't been to All Star Weekend because we always do big events or we're always doing something All Star Weekend. So I think the first one I went to was like the first time I ever saw Travis Scott perform, and he was performing Beeves in the Trap. Now I didn't even know who Travis Scott was. So what year was this? This was what All Star game was this? It wasn't L.A. It was somewhere else. I can't remember where the All Star game was. Maybe it was in the Bay. Maybe it was in Oakland. Year KD came. The year before KD came. I think so.
Okay.
It's that weekend. Was it? I can't remember. But yeah, we usually go every year. So I went to Jordan's 50th the year before that. But like, yeah, those sneaker parties are they're dope, man. Sneaker parties on All Star Weekend, they're a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun, lot of good business there.
That's good, man. You got
Yeah.
anything coming up with Kicking It?
Yeah, it's when COVID lets back up, man. I told you like Chris moved back to Brooklyn, which has been great. So we're working on a couple big things I can't really talk about yet, but like we got
Okay.
some big stuff coming up.
Well, what's
Then
the kicking
obviously,
their Instagram so we can look out for it?
kicking it is KICKN_IT. Yeah.
Well, look
So
out for kicking it. They do a lot of great interviews. They give back to kids. They always got a cool sneaker giveaway.
yeah, follow Coseezy. Follow Coseezy, Coseezy. He's the host and the founder. He's become one of my closest friends. We actually met in the Warrior Family Lounge back when JT was playing for the Warriors. That's how he and I met. We met when because Chris is one of Steph's close friends, and then JT had played for the Warriors for like when he left SAC. He was with the Warriors for a little bit, and so him and me and
AT
Chris
the
actually
Swift
met down there.
Township from South Jersey, for those who don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so yeah, we met down there, and then it was like right as Humfresh was coming to an end, and then we had hit it off. We took a. It's funny because Seth Curry played for the Kings, so Chris lived in SAC, but we go back and forth. So we had actually met one weekend. He needed a ride back to SAC, and then we drove for 2 hours. The drive from Oakland to Sacramento is about hour and a half, 2 hours. He went back, and from that point, we hit it. He was talking about kicking it, and then we hit it off there, and then our relationship grew super fast, and then the company grew, and then he's been doing some great things. So I'm excited to help take that to the next level too. Yeah, so look out for that.
Will do, man. Well, thanks
Yeah,
again, man. We really appreciate having you. And yo, man, make it a great day, bro.
yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you.